Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Maqbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at two important stories. The first will be a focus on what is going on in India, especially with regards to the elections that, of course, are underway, 5 phases of which have been completed and 2 remain. It's important, of course, to see where the current dynamic stands and where the country is going in terms of the reports that have been coming in terms of the data that has been coming out as well, with regards to, of course, the performance of the BJP as opposed to the opposition parties as well. So we're going to be taking a look at what the campaigns were all about, particularly from the start of the elections to where we stand today, whether there's any significant change in the kind of rhetoric that we've been hearing from different political parties and what seems to be the basis on which different voters are making their decisions on. We're also going to be taking a look at a recent interview that the Prime Minister Modi has given, which has sparked a lot of controversy on social media and debates otherwise, with regards to a statement being made in terms of talking about his birth and talking about how he has been sent from God. And this is, of course, something that different people are looking at differently and have different perspectives about, with regards to how one aspect claims that this is something that is being added as part of a spiritual element and is in line with Hindu beliefs as part of anybody representing God. And then there's also others who believe that this is the height of self-righteousness and that the Prime Minister is posing about and that this will lead to the party, if elected, calling themselves God. So we're going to be taking a look at what this means in terms of the effect that it has and what was the objective of actually saying that, and the rationale behind this as well, and the overall larger context of where the BJP stands at the moment, the problems that it faces, particularly in terms of voter turnout and how it's impacting elections, and then, of course, also the issues with regards to the Election Commission of India, with regards to them releasing the Form 17, in which, of course, there is data of the voter turnout that seems to have discrepancies earlier have been pointed out by the NGOs as well, including the Association of Democratic Alliance, and then, of course, with regards to how different political parties are also viewing this data. So we're going to be focusing on that at the start of the show. Our next segment is going to take a look at what is going on at home with the Prime Minister of Pakistan on a one-day visit to the UAE, in which he's met, of course, with the leadership there, and he's talked about whether this visit, of course, despite of being a short visit, is going to be fruitful, especially in terms of trade and investment. And it seems that that has happened with the UAE also announcing to invest $10 billion US dollars into the country. And of course, the Prime Minister emphasizing on the need to focus on sectors such as IT development. That has been the core focus of his government so far as well, and emphasizing also the importance of joint collaborations and investments over any sort of loans. And has reiterated that that hasn't been a part of his agenda, and what his focus is on, in fact, is capacity building and training of our youth, particularly in the sectors of IT and others. So we're going to be taking a look at what this means and how this particular development is going to affect the youth of the country and bring in investment in Pakistan. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Faisal. And for our first segment regarding elections in India, I've also been joined by Mr. Aditya Bharat, who's Advocate Supreme Court of India. Thank you very much, Mr. Aditya, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And I'll start with you currently in terms of your analysis of what you think is currently happening and the dynamics that have been going on with different political parties, particularly, of course, the BJP, which at the start of the elections seemed to be posed as the leading runner in terms of winning the elections. Many, of course, people also reporting how this is a given thing, but that changing perhaps from that dynamic to where we stand today in terms of questions being raised on the possibility of the kind of results that will be in the BJP's favor or not, or whether or not there's going to be a majority, or whether or not they're actually going to be coming into power or not. So first, your analysis on the current state of affairs of the Indian elections.
See, there is no doubt that Prime Minister Modi is coming back to power. The only question right now is what will be his majority. Will he have 272 is assured. Whether he will have 300, 350 or 400. 400 in the current way the things are shaping out seems difficult. Undoubtedly it seems difficult. But 400 was always just a cherished goal. It was a desire. It was not really a very practical point to begin with. Having said that, things are going fine in this country. There are no major untoward incidences in the elections. Luckily, there has been not much poll violence. Everything has gone smoothly. So, all in all, I think Prime Minister Modi is set for a third term. On 4th of June, when we'll all be meeting again, we'll be discussing about who will be in his cabinet and who will not be. I think that's the only discussion left. And what will the scale of his majority be? Nothing more.
Aditya, is there a chance that you might be in that cabinet also?
I wish I am.
Aditya, I have a question. It is being, of course, termed, and I have quite a few friends within India, journalist friends. They keep on telling me, yes, you are right, Aditya, that he is going to form the government, but this time around, he is going to seek help from his allies, the other allies, and he would be seeking other allies as well. Who knows that he end up, finding allies elsewhere who are currently, of course, against him, but they turn out to be his future allies to form a government. And once they form a government, I am being told that the key ministries, when we talk about defense ministry, when we talk about the interior ministry, them ministries would be given up by Modi himself, and the parties who would be, of course, extending a helping hand to Modi, they will be actually seeking the important ministries. Is this the case?
Could you
See,
qualify also which parties, by the way, do you mean, Faisal?
Well, I am being told that NDA can be one of them.
NDA is their ally.
Yeah, is
they,
the
they
ally.
are NDA. Yeah.
And of course, there are certain other parties who are associating themselves with Indie Alliance, India.
You're calling it India Alliance.
Yeah, in the Indie Alliance, there are quite a few parties who can switch their sides right at the end. Am I right, Aditya?
See, politics is the art of possibility, right? They say 1 week is a very long time in politics. Having said this, we are in the midst of the elections. Naturally, firstly, I am very clear, I am very confident that Prime Minister Modi's BJP itself will hit the majority mark. Secondly, in the situation that it does not, which I don't think will happen, but in that situation, he has very good terms with the current Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy, who is expected to win about 20 Lok Sabha seats on his own. He also has very good terms with Naveen Patnaik, who is the Chief Minister of Odisha, who again is expected to win at least 10 Lok Sabha seats. So, in any eventuality, falling short of more than 30 doesn't seem likely. And if he does, he will have the alliances in place. Secondly, regarding the cabinet formation, if we just tap into history, even when Vajpayee ji was in power, Home Ministry, which you all call Interior Ministry, was never with any ally. Home Ministry is a very pivotal ministry, which generally the single largest majority party keeps. So I don't really see home or foreign affairs getting diluted in any way. Home, foreign affairs, finance will always remain with the ruling party. It was the same case with Congress also when Congress was in power as UPA, in both UPA 1 and UPA 2.
So, what about the defense ministry? Would we be still seeing Rajnath Singh ji as defense minister, or in case of course, the 11th hour alliances, they might, of course, give up to somebody else?
See, I repeat, defense, foreign affairs, and home, which you all call interior, is never given to any ally generally, because they are very critical ministries. They run the government basically. So those ministries are not given. There are other lucrative ministries like railways, then there is petroleum, those kind of ministries, or Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Minister of State for Home Affairs, Minister of State for Defense Affairs. They are junior ministers. But the cabinet ministry, that is the head minister, is generally not given. I have not seen it in such a long time. And regarding who will be defense minister, that is your guess is as good as mine, because the prime minister is known for springing up surprises. So I'll just give you a case in point. I remember in 2014 when Nirmala Sitharaman, the current finance minister, she was not even a member of parliament at that point. She was speaking to some journalist on TV, The swearing in ceremony was at 5 p.m. the same day. She was live at 11 in the morning. She was talking, and her assistant came to her with a phone, and she can be seen visually saying that, please, I'm on TV, I'll pick it up later. The assistant says something which is not heard on TV, and Nirmala Sitharaman gets up, leaves the interview midway, and goes. Then at 5 p.m. we see her being sworn in as Commerce Minister that time. So the Prime Minister is known for his surprises.
Right.
It's anyone's guess. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right, and Aditya, speaking of surprises, there is another one that's of course been circulating, and there's a lot of controversy around it as well with regards to a recent interview that the Prime Minister has given, talking about how he has been sent from God, and of course with regards to his biological birth, and then of course in terms of how he is here as a representation of God and moving forward with his work. I want your take on it first, and then your understanding, especially in terms of what exactly was the rationale behind it. Was this a deliberate move by the Prime Minister to reach some sort of impact? Where was it aligned with? What sort of narrative was he building on, or the effect that he was hoping for?
See, the Prime Minister is a deeply religious man, and he firmly believes that if whatever his actions are or whatever his destiny is destined by God. And so do many people in this world across religions, Hindu, Muslim, any religion. We all land up believing that our actions are not in our control. Ultimately, it is God who decides our fate. And this is not the first time he has said this. He has said this multiple times. He has said this even when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. So nothing serious to look at it. If you go through his past interviews also, he's always been very grateful to God, because the Prime Minister has one exception. This Prime Minister, the first time he became a member of the Legislative Assembly in Gujarat, he became the Chief Minister. The first time he became member of Parliament, he became Prime Minister. So he thinks and he believes that such good luck can only be of someone
totally
who God
understand.
has
You're right
given.
about how universal that is, perhaps. But what about the fact where he's actually questioning his biological birth?
And may I also question your chronology? He became Chief Minister first and became an MLA later, right?
He was the point I was trying to make is that he was not a 2-time, 4-time MLA. The moment he's an MLA, or the first, or, I mean, whatever, forget the chronology, but the first time he ever entered Legislative Assembly, he entered as a Chief Minister, not as an ordinary Legislative Assembly member. And regarding his birth, I mean, can you be more specific on your question?
Yeah, Aditya, let me
actually
precise about it.
clarify as well, and you can add to that, Faisal. But I'm specifically talking about how he questions his biological birth, saying that he often thinks about that, of where he actually came from, and he believes that perhaps he wasn't really coming through a biological birth and is being sent from God. I mean, you've heard the interview.
See, we've all heard the interview. That is correct. So that, again, my answer remains the same what I told earlier. He's a deeply religious man. He believes that it was his fate and destiny to govern this country, and he calls himself the Pradhan Sevak, that is the prime servant of this country. And he feels that this is something which is destined. Again, if you go in his life history, when he was a 4 or 5-year-old child, some astrologer from Bihar had come to his village in Gujarat, who had even then told him that you will be a great sage, you will be a great religious man, you will be a spiritual man, and also a great king. A great king, obviously, in current times refers to being prime minister or ruler of a state, which he doesn't see that way. He thinks he is the first and prime servant of this country. So I don't, honestly, not because I'm an Indian and I'm on a Pakistani channel, but I genuinely firmly believe that it was just said in that spirit, because he's a religious man and he believes that fate is intertwined with what God has destined.
Yeah, Aditya, that's so kind of you to be more precise about it. Let me be more precise about it as well. The word which has been used, it's avatar. This word specifically is used for prophets, specially sent to the world for a purpose by Ishwar, by God. This is what he meant. You being a lawyer, an attorney at law, and excellency on law. A question to you is, in any ideal world, in any ideal saner world, this kind of statement of coming from someone who is contesting an election to get the premier slot of the country, wouldn't it be challenged in the court of laws with the aspect of he's got psychological problems, he's psychologically unfit? Am I right or wrong?
By the way, just to clarify, Sana, one thing. Avatars are not supposed to be prophets. They're God incarnates.
Right. Aditya, I'd also add to this question a different perspective in terms of the impact of what this has on democracy itself and the way that elections are viewed. Because while, of course, many perhaps will be taking the stance that you have just described, there will be others who might take a more literal meaning out of this interview and will believe it as it is. And that puts a dangerous spin on how political leaders are actually viewed and how they are voted for. What do you think in terms of the impact that such statements have on the progress of democracy and for actually voting for political leaders and not gods or avatars of gods?
See, yours is a multi-layered question. So let's start point by point. Firstly, from my perspective, being a lawyer, I'm also an atheist. So I don't believe in any particular religion as such. That being the case, I am deeply the secularism of my country has trained me to understand that everyone has their own unique set of beliefs and systems which have to be respected and appreciated. Having said that, now coming to a potential court challenge, there are a lot of statements which people say, a lot of beliefs which people have. In fact, in Hindu religion or even in Islam in India, there are so many different sects and communities apart from Shia and Sunni that everyone has their own systems and beliefs. If every challenge is entertained in court, then we'll have to have a separate religious court in our country, which luckily we don't have in our country. Now, regarding psychological doubts about his sanity, I mean, that is far-fetched and below the belt. Come on, I mean, you can criticize the Prime Minister of our country the way we can criticize your Prime Minister. That is fair and healthy, but saying or even hinting towards that is crossing a line in my view, which I condemn right up front right now before all of you. And I would not like to dignify it with a further response on this point.
But you are entitled to your views, of course.
On this point, I will not like to further dignify it with a response.
No, Aditya, I didn't say that I didn't particularly say that your Prime Minister. I mean, I'm just talking about or seeking a sort of clearance on one legal point, and that point is that in any sane modern world, if anybody who's contesting an election for the premier slot of the country, if he comes up with these kind of statements, wouldn't it be the case that he will be challenged, that he is psychologically unfit for the top slot?
And Aditya, my question on democracy remains and the impacts. If you'd also like to comment on that.
See, our country is such a diverse country. We have so many divergent views that our court, especially the Supreme Court, if I have to speak from my lens as a lawyer, has chosen to give a degree of autonomy and freedom in religious affairs or in religious belief systems. Having said that, we have an Election Commission of India. We have a court process in place. We have a model code of conduct which lays down certain guidelines as to how one has to campaign. So far, nobody has taken cognizance of this statement in terms of initiating any proceedings against the Prime Minister. So I believe that it has not been taken that seriously, because if you have a look at his past statements, he has obtained number of times said this and he believes this. Now whether there will be a section of people who dislike this belief system and may find it not appropriate, so they have the freedom not to vote for him, and the ones who find it appropriate will vote for him. Now beyond this, I, on a personal note, feel that religion and politics are separate issues. Right, but that is me as a voter. My constitution has given me the freedom to be an atheist and have my own views. But I cannot discount the fact that there are religious people who may appreciate it. So I don't think this is some greater question on democracy. On democracy, there would be a greater question if he was planning to convert the Prime Minister's post into a dictator's post or a supreme leader's post the way it is in Iran. None of that is happening. It is his comment which is That's it. I mean, there is nothing more than that. You may disagree with his comments, fine. That is the democracy we are having. I also will believe this, that I will disagree with someone if I have to quote Voltaire, but I will fiercely protect his right to say what he wants to. I may disagree. I am not saying I am disagreeing with the Prime Minister, but I am saying that we have that freedom in our country where we can speak whatever we want to. And
Right.
if there is something which crosses a line, then we have a model code of conduct in place which will deal with this kind of situation.
Right, absolutely. And Farrukh, I want your perspective also in terms of this distinction that Aditya has also referred to in terms of religion and politics, and how these lines can be blurred, or how different people can have, of course, different perspectives on that as well, and whether or not essentially that is something that we can view as separate from the other. And also add to that, since Aditya, of course, when we started the conversation, has clarified his stance on the BJP actually coming forward with the third term in office. You believe otherwise.
Yeah.
So I want to see whether your understanding on that has changed in any way or not.
Thank you very much, Sana. Regarding the first question, I think you will find me and Aditya simpatico, because I also believe that religious belief is a personal thing, and anybody can have any faith, any belief, including the right to claim godhood, right? But I might not agree, but that is something else. Regarding also this claim or this statement, one of the misfortunes of a country as large as India having such a controlled, or for that matter, stagnant media is that such things become issues, whereas there are far more juicier things happening right now. For example, Calcutta High Court actually cancelled the reservation meant for OBCs, other backward caste in entirety of Bengal. That should have been far bigger issue. Similarly, before starting the program, I was also talking to you about this ADR petition. ADR actually went, Prashant Bhushan and others went to the Supreme Court and complained that the Election Commission of India is not giving the turnout numbers. It is giving percentages, but it is not giving the numbers, and that's why Form 17C, which actually records all the turnout numbers, should be made available. And last night, I saw the response from the Election Commission of India, which is astounding. They believe, like the SBI, when it came to electoral bonds, that they can actually get away with whatever they want, right? So obfuscation happened. Similarly, I think this election is being fought on the basis of not one national issue, but a lot of local pained expectations. For example, unemployment, inflation. Similarly, somehow it became an issue of the Constitution itself, because Constitution provides reservations for the Dalits and the EBCs, OBCs, and even the backward, economically weak, upper caste or forward caste as well. So with that kind of a situation, amazing kind of number and consolidation is happening. Mayawati's party, Bahujan Samaj Party, which was supposed to be the custodian of Dalit rights, astoundingly, it is scurrying for support, because all of them might have actually shifted to India coalition, not India alliance, right? Of course, my dear friend Faisal's favorite anchor actually calls it India alliance, so he will also follow. And similarly, he also actually did something amazing. Child hasn't been born, and he is actually deciding his dowry. So with that kind of a situation, my humble submission is transformation has taken place. And at this time, if you look at numbers, there are people who keep on telling me that they, in certain places, the BJP might actually get new vote because it is losing vote elsewhere. But astoundingly, in those areas like South, they haven't been able to make a difference. Why? Because of tax devolution issue. umpteen other issues, right? Because of the secular nature or Dravidianism. With all that said, I found two mentions. One, Odisha, in which Naveen Patnaik, or Naveen Babu as he is called, his party, Biju Janata Dal, and then of course Andhra Pradesh, which again has a considerable number of seats, but there again Jagan Reddy is not doing that great. Actually, one of his candidates went and vandalized a polling station because they are very angry. There is another one, TDP, which is a huge ally, Telugu Desam Party, ally of BJP and NDA. But these are counted numbers. Despite that, I don't think on its own BJP is getting anything more than 180 seats, or it is crossing or nearing the 272 number. With that kind of a state of affairs, tell me, how did they make the difference? They won't be able to do it, right? Getting people away from, India coalition, I welcome my friend if he can actually volunteer the name of parties which might actually switch sides. The only party that could have and has done is JDU or Nitish Kumar. By the way, this whole revolution, and there is a revolution going on, was actually started by Nitish Kumar when he actually opted for Jati Jangarna in Bihar. And after that, every OBC has started thinking, okay, we are in bigger number. And then Dalits are saying that maybe there is a threat to our reservation also. With that kind of a state of affairs, I don't think it is even possible for NDA to make a government.
Right, and Faisal, you wanted to add something on that as well, but I also want your comment with regards to what we discussed earlier as well in terms of the RSS also, of course, springing up and being part of what is being talked about, maybe difficulties or problems that the BJP is facing and stepping up in terms of increasing voter base. What exactly do you think will be the contribution through RSS, and what sort of action points do you think that they will indulge in order to ensure the voters for BJP?
Yes, and obviously when we talk about RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, in today's Indian society, they have a huge influence, and this is a sort of organization that has been there in India since the day one, and they were the most influential till date, and they have their own influence on not only, of course, BJP. BJP is sometimes considered as the political offshoot of RSS. There are several other political parties that have, of course, the influence of RSS, and time to time, of course, they are the ones who have maintained their influence in them political parties in different different regions of India. That is why I am saying that the very parties who have good relations with RSS would be sort of bridging between BJP and them parties in coming days. And reason why I am saying that BJP would be, of course, forming a government and Modi ji would be getting another term, because RSS mobilization, very recent mobilization regarding elections, it is of course going to help BJP to garner more support on ground. Then organizations like Akali Dal and groups like Akali Dal and these kind of groups, smaller groups, of course they would be sort of mobilizing as well. And
Akalis are not in alliance, by the way.
Not in alliance.
And by the way, their whole state has only 13 seats.
Let me finish. Yeah. Then what we are going to see is that on ground, of course, they will be in a position to, if not, as Farrukh mentions that 180, I don't think 180 would be the case. To me, I think they would be managing to get around 270 to in between 270 and 285 seats, which would of course put BJP on a slot to form a government with help of few of their allies. And to me, I think BJP would be listening to RSS in terms of making alliances, because to me, I think RSS would already be having the calculations within themselves that who they are going to sort of push forward towards BJP to form a government, and this is what is going to take place. And by the way, RSS is a party in recent past.
It's not a party. It's not a party.
Organization. Sorry about my words. RSS is an organization that not only had influence in India recently, but they had influence throughout the Indian history since 1947.
Right.
They have been having that influence, and politically there were different steps that different people took in past that were, of course, maybe supported by RSS or ordered by RSS or not ordered by RSS. I am referring to a few of the assassinations that took place in past.
Okay.
They did take place. They had political influence as well throughout, and that political influence, and with a decade of their influence over BJP and their favored people getting supreme positions in different sort of institutions of India as an establishment within the establishment of India, they have a huge influence,
right,
and that influence is going to go in the favor of BJP, and eventually BJP will be forming the government.
All right.
Sana, very quickly, two interventions. By the way, this whole story that so and so is going to step in reminds me of my altercation with stronger boys in my childhood. And when I was cornered, I would say, my father will come and he will beat the pulp out of you. With due respect, there are two things which are important to remember. Mohan Bhagwat, the supremo of RSS, recently praised Congress party. One. Do you know where did this 180 number came from? RSS. That's my case.
Right.
Well, I didn't get that
Let us
number.
actually go to Mr. Aditya as well, and I want to give you a chance to respond to the discussion, but in particular, I also want to question, of course, since you're advocate Supreme Court as well, what we know the Supreme Court is slated to hear tomorrow with reference to ADR and its petition regarding voter turnout. If you can also give us the merits of this case and your stance on that in terms of where this petition stands and what will be the likely factors that will be under discussion.
Yeah, I think it is a very good petition. If we talk strictly on merits and also principles, there is a statutory rule in place, section 17C, by which the numbers have to be given. And if they have not been given, it is an egregious violation. And the Election Commission is answerable on this, because this is not how it should be done, right? And the Election Commission is an independent body. If they have failed to do it, then they must answer. And the Supreme Court would go, in my opinion, it should ideally go heavily down upon the Election Commission of India on this aspect. So on merits, this has a very good case, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see.
All right. Thank you very much, Aditya, for joining us and being a part of the discussion and sharing your views with us in the debate. That's the end of our first segment. We're now going to be taking a look at what is going on at home with the Prime Minister's visit to the UAE, and of course trade and investment ties being very high on the agenda. And Faisal, we know that good announcements and news have been coming in from this particular visit, and of course Pakistan with regards to its current economic situation, and since a while now, of course, has been working towards increasing investment in the country, and the Prime Minister has also focused a lot with this agenda since, of course, February 8th. And so we want to understand then what your perspective is on this particular visit and the numbers that we're seeing in terms of $10 billion that the UAE is willing to invest.
Yeah, obviously, Sana, when we talk about UAE, Saudi Arabia, these are the countries, I mean, we always consider as our second home, and any citizen from UAE and Saudi Arabia would consider my country, Pakistan, as their second home. And that is why the brotherly relations we have with the UAE, they have always been very important, very dear to Pakistan. And whenever Pakistan, of course, is facing problems in terms of its economy, in terms of other aspects as well, then we have seen that there are two brothers we always go towards, and them are UAE and Saudi Arabia, and that is why we are seeing that Prime Minister of Pakistan, with the vision of course bringing in investment in Pakistan for Pakistan's future and fixing the economy, the detract economy. Of course, he is there and he has an agenda, and that agenda is related to, of course, enhancing the bilateral trade and in attracting more investments from UAE in Pakistan in different sectors. Of course, we know that nowadays Prime Minister of Pakistan, he is highlighting one aspect of Pakistan's Pakistan's society at large, and that is of course the youth bulge and the able youth bulge I'm talking about. We are talking about people who have the degrees and who have skills with them. There are of course many Pakistanis who are working in UAE and their overseas remittances, they are sort of part and parcel of Pakistan's household and Pakistan's economy as well. We need to increase that in coming future as well. And then when we talk about the investors in different sectors, in IT sector, and then real estate sector of Pakistan, and then SIFC is attracting more investments to Pakistan, especially in the field of agriculture. And we shouldn't be forgetting that Gulf countries, they have of course with the time they have turned India into their bread basket, because they are highly relying on food items from India, and the similar food items can be of course grown in Pakistan. And we know that for almost 20 years Pakistan was facing war on terror, and during that war on terror we couldn't attract investments in our agriculture sector, in our other sectors as well. So that is why we couldn't at that time of course progress in terms of our agriculture. But now when we have available the high technology, the agro technology, and with the help of that we can increase our agri products as well, and that production, if it is increased, then of course we are seeking investment in these sectors to bring in the agri-tech in Pakistan, so that we are able to replace some other countries as bread basket for the Gulf countries. And to me, I think these are very important aspects, and which needs to be of course highlighted, and that is why our Prime Minister is there, and he is going to of course attract investments in all of these sectors. And of course that to fix the economy we would require support from UAE.
Not just investments, he also emphasized, of course, with regards to empowering the youth, particularly in terms of trainings and capacity buildings, in terms of the IT sector. What sort of collaboration do you see on that front?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, that is related to, of course, we know that in today's UAE, I mean, if we go back to 30 years or 20 years ago, the skills, they were quite different at that time. And at that time, the Pakistani youth that was going to UAE and Saudi Arabia, at that time they had the proper skills at that time. But now the these skill meters of these countries, they have changed, and of course both of the countries, they need to work on that, so that they can enhance the capacity from within Pakistan in terms of making Pakistani citizens able to sort of get skilled jobs in UAE. And to do that, of course, both of the countries, they have to jointly work in Pakistan to, of course, further equip the youth of Pakistan with these pertinent skills that are required to meet the modern challenges of the world.
Right, absolutely. Farrukh, of course, while we welcome such news, I want to also understand the factors that have contributed towards it. Is it because we are in a position that is a better economic outlook that people are looking towards Pakistan? Is it because of the historical relationships that we enjoy with these countries and the efforts of the government to further strengthen it? Or is it because of the SIFC putting forward ease of business or a one-window solution to these countries? Or is it the fact that we're engaging with the IMF once again on these factors?
All of the above. Sana, I think that last year in August, if you remember, till the time this government was there, I think that there was the already talk of huge investment coming from at least three Arab countries, right? And elsewhere also China as well. And that was the time when we started actually seeing the role of SIFC. Usually what happens is, as was pointed out by Faisal, that whenever we are in economic distress as a country, we rush to China and then to our Arab brothers. Right? So what happens is that they usually provide us with some kind of breather by either providing $1 or $2 billion to be placed in our foreign currency reserves, or then rolling over the amount which was already to be paid back. So last year, all of a sudden we started hearing that they also think that the approach is wrong, and if you just want to actually stay on ventilator, that is your choice, but we can help you transform your economy, right? So we started hearing huge numbers, but then came a caretaker government, and with caretaker government, the problem was who is going to form the government again. But SIFC kept on working very hard. Remember, here you have to praise two men, and I'm not talking about SIFC, of course, there is a military component, we can praise that as well. But MBZ, because everybody keeps on looking at MBS, maybe people don't pay, at least in this country, that kind of attention to the to MBZ's vision. You know, the head of UAE, he has an amazing outlook. He has transformed his country into this GCC think tank, right? He is transforming his own economy, and he is also actually charting the map for other brotherly countries in the neighborhood as well. So his vision is amazing, and I think that this investment, this number is going to go up. The second one is Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, because I think, and I usually quote this anecdote from Catch Me If You Can, mice actually fall in a bucket of milk. One actually gives up and drowns. The other one actually wants to escape. So it keeps on paddling and paddling until it turns into curd and it jumps out, right? So the approach of this Prime Minister has been worked so hard that it becomes impossible to bring about the reforms. We have seen what he has done with SBA. We have seen what he has done with advocating. And by the way, this is what we heard from the Chinese at that time when he was Chief Minister Punjab, when he actually came back with the Green Line project, right? At that time, it was not part of the CPEC, so to speak. But the Chinese people actually, our Chinese office bearers, kept on complimenting him that you should have seen him fighting for Pakistan and his own project. So I think because of these two men, a lot of things are possible, and add to it our military diplomacy, our army chief, SIFC. They has been, Faisal of course was talking about agriculture, but I think the lowest hanging fruit is going to be the operations of our airports, because that is also, that works with the UAE's own economy as well. And then we are actually trying to privatize PIL. Let's see whether there can be any investment in that. But I think that these are the early starters. These are projects which can be started very easily. Then, of course, agriculture is a huge, huge issue. The first we heard about the impact possible impact of what was going on in Ukraine, the war that was going on, because both these countries, Russia and Ukraine, are grain producers. The first we heard was that it is going to have an impact in the sub-Saharan Africa and the Arab countries. So, in Arab countries which do not produce all this, agricultural produce, Pakistan can play a very important role, and that is where SIFC, particularly its LIMS system, Land Information Management System, also comes in handy, because that is where you can understand where to sow what and how to actually accelerate and how to go for corporate farming. So, Pakistan has many avenues for investment. I think we have structured them well, and in coming days we are going to see inflow of investment coming from UAE, and UAE is a country that we should be working very closely with, because their vision, if you read vision, both MBS's vision and MBZ's, but MBZ, because we are talking about him right now, their vision is amazing. And you can really, unfortunately, our focus has been buying property in Dubai, right, in UAE, and we have seen recent Dubai leaks also. But if that was not the case, if our focus was actually exploring avenues of investment there as well and bringing the investment here, things would have been far better.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and of course that's the hope, that things will get better and more investment will be coming in. Thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for being part of the discussion. As always, that's all that we have time for. We'll now see you tomorrow.